Coming off the biggest week for the market so far this year with the Fed and mega cap earnings last week, we're right back into the mix of things this week with monster opportunities. A little bit light on the economic calendar, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be a ton of market movement. It's your week ahead preview right now. The week kicks off on a quiet note Monday with no significant economic data before the open. There are a few, however, notable companies set to report earnings to kick off the week. We'll get reports from Lowe's, from ON Semiconductor, and one from the consumer discretionary group, Tyson Food. TSN will be on watch ahead of the open. Lowe's shares could provide traders with opportunities, as most analysts have been positive on the stock in recent weeks. Barron's with a recent article, positive note, in fact, highlighting Home Depot's major competitor being set to continue taking market share from HD. The stock's down about 21%. From all-time highs heading into this earnings report. All right, let's move on to Tuesday. We'll kick things off with a look at December trade balance data at 8:30 Eastern. Last month, this report showed the U.S. trade deficit shrunk on lower imports as November saw domestic demand. Onto the earnings front we go. Pre-market Tuesday, the once bankrupt Hertz will come through with its latest report, along with cruise operator Royal Caribbean. Most analysts are expecting a beat on increased demand, but are cautious ahead of what is expected to be an overall economic downturn going into the second half of the year. Tuesday then, during the session, we'll keep shares of Canada Goose, GOOS, in New York in mind. The company is set to hold its annual Investor Day live at its headquarters here in Toronto. All right, let's shift focus to after the market closes on Tuesday. We'll hear from the likes of Enphase, YumC, and airplane Wi-Fi provider Viasat, VSAT. It's been a wild one of late. ENPH will be closely watched. Was a rare positive stock in 2022. Most analysts are expecting a beat when they come through with their earnings this time. All right, on to Wednesday we go. Pre-market, we'll focus on earnings once again with the likes of Fox, CVS, Under Armour, and Yum Brands coming through with their reports. CVS shares could be early movers. The stock typically is quite volatile around earnings. Most analysts are expecting earnings of $1.91 per share this time around, trading at an expensive 37 times earnings still versus the current 20 times overall for the S&P 500. We'll also have a look at early strength possibly from the Chinese EV group. Li Auto specifically could be on the move. The company is set to present possible new models coming through at a national auto show in China on Wednesday. On the economic front then, at 10 a.m. Eastern Wednesday, that'll be the latest reading on wholesale inventories, this time for December. We're expecting a 0.9% increase versus a 0.1% jump from the prior month. After the market closed then, focus will shift back to earnings as we get the biggest batch of the week. A lot of these highly shorted names have been just flying of late. We're going to hear from AFRM after the close, AFRM, Mattel, MGM, Robinhood, and Disney coming through with their report as well. Have a look at Disney, though. Those shares will be closely watched by the market as a whole, with the recent return of Bob Iger to the helm and continued activist investor chatter around the stock. Most analysts watching Disney have them marked down for a decline in quarterly numbers this report. We'll kick things off on Thursday, as always, with the initial jobless claims coming off the non-farm payrolls number back on Friday last week. This will be a closely watched number once again for the overall market. On the earnings front then, pre-market, we'll get CGC coming through. Yeah, Canopy Growth, along with Kellogg, Pepsi, and Tapestry, just to name a few of the companies reporting in the pre-market. Retail favorite, meanwhile, Veru, shout out to Fahad, VERU, going to come through with its report as well. The company reported a wider loss of 51 cents per share in its last quarter, but the majority of analysts are actually still maintaining a buy rating of the analysts that are still covering Veru. ACB, Lyft, and PayPal then will headline earnings reports coming after the market closes. PayPal has had an impressive recovery off its lows from back in December, up more than 30% in just over a month now. PayPal recently announced It would eliminate 2,000 jobs from its global workforce in a cost-cutting effort, joining tech giants Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, who have recently announced similar moves. The company has beat estimates, though, in 2 out of 3 of its last reports. Friday will be light overall, both on the economic calendar and earnings board, with the only real major announcement set for 10 a.m. We'll get the latest Michigan consumer sentiment numbers coming through. Last month, the reading hit an 8-month high, as the end of the year brought lower energy prices for most and easing inflation worries right across the board. We're set for another jam-packed week of action, with most markets coming off their best weekly performance since way back in November. As always, we'll bring you all the action live daily on TraderTV.Live.